Hello everyone, good morning. How are you all doing? Remember, type in the comment box to respond to any questions that I'm asking you. So today we're going to do a B1 class on infinitives and gerunds. So I'm basically just going to start by explaining the rules when we use infinitives and when we use gerunds. And then that's basically it. We're going to have a look at the different rules, and on the online classroom you then have some to practice when we use infinitives and when we use gerunds. Good morning, Stallion. Thank you. Using my comment box. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with when we use infinitives. Now, we can use infinitives with to, and we can use infinitives without to. So, does anyone know when we might use an infinitive? You can't see the board. Okay, let me try to move my webcam a little bit, because how's that? Let me put something up. How's that now? Like that? Can you see it better? No, my laptop doesn't want to stay up. Is that better? Yes? No? Can you see the board? Okay, Fanny, when we're going to do something, could you give me an example? It's very far. Come on, in English, you know? I'm not practicing my Spanish. Okay. Let's see, let's have a little move. How's that? Better? Perfect. Okay, so, okay, basically, if you don't worry, if you can't see the board too well, listen to me. A little bit of listening practice, okay? And like I said, the worksheet that you've got online has an explanation of everything I'm going to explain now. So, infinitives with to. The first reason we use infinitives with to is to express purpose. To express purpose. What's that? What's purpose? Anyone know a synonym for purpose? No? So purpose means the objective, the reason for something. Yeah? Why am I doing something? So, for example, I can say, yesterday I went to the shop. Now, here is where the infinitive of purpose comes in. I went to the shop to buy, planning to do something, exactly. I went to the shop to buy some bread. And I waited a long time in the queue to Macadon. So I went to the shop to buy some bread, or I'm planning to do something. I'm going to the shop to get some milk. Yeah? So either in the past, why I did something, or in the future, why I'm going to do something. Or now. Yeah? Now I'm talking to you to explain infinitives and gerunds. That's the purpose of why I'm talking to you. Okay? Got it? Like I say, if you can't see what I'm writing, try and just listen. And on the notes on the worksheet, you can see. Okay? So, perfect. The next reason why we use the infinitives with to is for when we use an adjective. So after an adjective, we follow the adjective with an infinitive. So, after adjectives. For example, It's good. So normally with the verb to be, because we use the to be with adjectives. So I can say it's good to eat healthily. Yeah. So here I have my adjective, it's good, and I follow it with the infinitive. It's good to do something. Okay? It's great to study English at home when you're in isolation. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of okays. That's good. Fantastic. So the next rule for infinitives with to, you should know this already, is with the modal verb that starts with W. Modal verb that starts with W. Anyone? Let's see if you can get it. I'm giving you some time here. 5-letter modal verb that starts with the letter W. Would! Yes, Lydia, well done. Exactly. So we have would with a verb. For example, I would like, I would love, I would hate. Okay, so all of these are then followed by to. It is very hard to eat healthy right now. I understand you. I'm going through the same thing. So I would like, what would you like to do right now? It's probably a good time to answer this question. What would you like to do? It's an imaginary situation. What would you like to do right now? If you could. If you were allowed to do anything at this moment, what would you do? I would probably go to a restaurant or a cafe. I'm missing the bars and the restaurants and the cafes being open. Anyone else? What would you like to do? Would you like to learn English? Okay, fantastic. Yeah, great question. Would you like to learn English? So there, would you like to learn English? So here, after would like, and you've even made it more complicated by making a question. I would like to go out on the street. I would like to go out. Everyone would like to go out. Definitely. I would love to go out onto the street. Okay, fantastic. So, there are 2 more rules for infinitives with to. The next rule we have is after a quantifier. So again, your next question, what is a quantifier? Can you give me an example of a quantifier? If it helps, you look at the word, you've got quantity. So, can you give me a word that tells me the quantity of something? And that is a quantifier. I'm going to put it in brackets here. We would like to go up twice. Can twice be a quantifier? I think twice is more of an adjective. How many times you do something. A quantifier is, for example, 2. But 2 with 2 O's. Yeah, so 2 in the negative sense for emphasis. Then would be a connector or an adverb of time. An adverb of time. So it's something that doesn't tell me when we do something. It tells me how much of something. So in this case, to with an adjective tells me that, for example, now I'm too hot. Okay, so I can say it's too hot to be inside. And there we have the infinitive. Okay, does that make sense? We also have, for example, enough. Enough. So I can say, I'm not hungry enough to eat. To eat lunch or to eat dinner. I'm not hungry enough to eat dinner or lunch. Okay? So quantifiers, for example, you can have the same with too many or too much. Yeah, I have too much money. You can say he has too much money to spend. And then the verb after is in the infinitive. Okay? So finally then, the last rule for infinitives with to that I'm going to explain today is after words like something or anything. So any of these words that have some followed by something, for example, somewhere or anywhere or someone or anyone. Okay, so an example for this, or nowhere as well, we can say. Somewhere, anywhere, nowhere. So, fitting with the context, now I can say I have nowhere to go. I have nowhere to go. Okay, the verb after nowhere is in the infinitive. Okay, and that's as simple as that. So, do you have something for me to do? The to do is in the infinitive with to. Or I don't have anyone. Another one that we can use. I don't have anyone to talk to. I'm alone, talking to the camera, without my students here. But you're all there at home. I can see you watching. Okay? Is that clear? Yes? Not sure? No? If you have any questions, remember you can type in the comment box and ask me if you're not sure about anything. We have some okays. Yes, yes. Fantastic. Thank you. So, I have my rubber hand. So now that's infinitive with to. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is infinitives without to. Think a little now, whilst I'm wiping my board. When do we use an infinitive without to? There's one rule, one example that I think you should know. That was a little clue as well. There's an example that you should already know. So, that was all infinitive with the to. Now we're going to look at infinitives without to. There's not as many rules for this one. There's only a few rules for this one, but there is one very broad example. Can you think of when we would use an infinitive without to? With what type of words? I'm just going to wait for you to think a little bit. Very dark here. I might try and move a little bit. Let's see how that works. Not much better. Your brain's ticking. When can we use an infinitive without a to? Hey, Pedro's got it. Fantastic. I'm sure you were all thinking it as well. Modal verbs. After modal verbs. Okay, now your next question. Can you give me an example of a modal verb? Don't speak Spanish. It's good spelling, and that is an imperative as well. Yeah, an imperative. We don't say to not speak Spanish. Doesn't make sense. When we're giving an imperative, we also use infinitive without to. Very good. After auxiliary verbs, to be, are, you. Yeah, an auxiliary verb, are or do, in a sentence, we wouldn't use the infinitive afterwards, the to even. Fantastic. So, for example, must and should are modal verbs. Excellent. We have must, we have should. You should speak English. Very good. Excellent. Yeah, must, should. You should speak English. That's a good example. We never say you should to speak English. It's a very common error, common mistake that, well, English learners make. You should, look what I'm writing. You should speak Spanish. No, you shouldn't speak Spanish. You should speak English in class. Fantastic. Thank you for that example. So we have mud in class. Correct the first time. In class. Because you're in a space, a closed space. Very good. So must, should, we have could, can, would. Obviously, not would with a verb though. Would by itself. I would like. I would go. I would buy. Yeah, it's not I would to do something. Like I say, very common mistake that a lot of students make. Okay, so we have after modal verbs, and we also have with the expression to make, or to let, or to help somebody do something. So you have make, so you're forcing someone to do something, you're obligating them to do something. Let means to permit someone to do something, to permit or to allow them to do something. But when we use let, we don't use the to. Can I put an example with would? Yeah. So, well, I'll just do it speaking. So would, when I say I would like, that verb, like, next to would, doesn't have to. Yeah, I would like to go outside. The rest of the sentence, yes. Or, for example, if I, this is an imaginary situation, if I had more money, I would buy a new car. I would buy. Okay, would and the buy. Yeah, I know the light is not ideal. As it's the first video, it's a little bit of a test, but we will fix the light for the next videos, I promise. Okay, so back to make, let, and help. So we have make, to obligate someone to do something, let, to permit or to allow somebody to do something, and then you have help, which you should know already, to help someone do something. So you have let, make, or help, with an object. Okay, this object is often a person. Okay, so for example, he or my parents, let's say my parents made me. Okay, so I have make in the past, the object, which is me, and then the next verb, for example, my parents made me do my homework. Okay, so I've got make plus the object plus then the verb in the infinitive without the to. Okay, or for example, that means she allowed me, she permitted me to use her phone. But when we use let, we have let plus the object, and then we have the infinitive without the to. Okay? And the same with help. He helped me do my shopping. Or she helped me clean my house. Yeah, that verb after the object helped me clean. The clean doesn't have to. No infinitive. Okay? Amazing. My mother let me use gloves in winter. Okay, very good. In that case, I think it would be better to use make. I don't know, because your mom probably wants you to use gloves in winter. Let is more of a, I'm permitting you to do something. Yeah, so maybe it would be a little strange if she didn't let you use gloves in winter. Then your hands would be very cold. Yeah, let is like, my mother let me stay out late. Or my mother let me go to bed late. Something that you want to do and someone permits you to do it. They let you do it. Okay? Fantastic. So there is one more reason why we use infinitives without to, and that is after the expressions had better. After the expression had better. Now, does anyone know what had better means? If I give you some examples, you had better study English. You had better go to the shop because there's no milk in the fridge. You had better stop speaking Spanish in my class. Does anyone know what had better means? You can't see the board, I know. But it isn't. Nice. Me trying to move the board. I'll try to move it a little bit closer and see if that helps. It's tilted. It's a bit funny. How's that? In English, thank you, Lydia. You had better speak in English. Let's see. Had better is like should. Fantastic, Sylvia, you've got it. Had better is a synonym of should. Okay, so it's basically this rule, but had better is not a modal verb. Okay, so you had better do something. And it means the same as should. You had better study English. Just means you should study English. Okay. Does that make sense? So when I'm giving you advice, I can say you should do something, or I can say you had better do something. Yes? Got it? That's all of the rules, well, all of the rules that I'm going to teach you today for infinitives. So now we're going to have a look at gerunds. Let me know, can you see the board better like this? If not, I can try and move my laptop a little bit. Do you have any questions about infinitives so far? We're going to have a look at gerunds now. The rules we use for gerunds. So, whilst I'm wiping, you can think if you have any questions before we move on. Gerunds, thanks, Sinead, thanks, perfect. So gerunds are a little bit easier, let's say. There are less rules for gerunds. So when do we use a gerund? Firstly, do you know what a gerund is? What is a gerund? Thank you, Petra. I tried. What is a gerund? Do you know what a gerund is? I'm actually going to try and make this a little bit closer whilst you tell me what a gerund is. I'm going to move this and see if this is any better. Like this. How's that? Fantastic. ing end. ing ending, a form of the verb. Very good. It is, is that better? It should be better. A form of the verb, exactly. Gerund is the verb plus ing. So yeah, we use the gerund in the present. Infinitive plus ing, exactly. The infinitive plus the ing. Infinitive plus ing, you've all got it. Well done. So, we use a gerund for let's say two main reasons. While you are speaking, exactly, but we also use it after certain verbs, like the infinitives, or in specific phrases or sentences. So we use the gerund, firstly, after a preposition. So, your next question, what is a preposition? Can you give me an example of a verb with a preposition? I give you one example, a verb or an adjective with a preposition. So, for example, fond of. To be fond of something means to like something. Okay? So, I like doing something. I am fond of doing something. I'm going to put the verb to be there. To be fond of doing something. For example, I am fond of swimming. Okay? Look for. Excellent. That's another one. I am fond of. Of is the preposition. Of is this, the preposition. So when I have a preposition, after it, I follow it by the gerund, ing. To look for, with a noun, I look for someone. With a gerund, I was looking for doing something. Look for would normally be used with a noun, but for is a preposition, okay? For is a good example of a preposition that if you have a sentence with for, you follow it with the gerund. More examples, you agree to doing something. Yeah, I agreed to going to the cinema. That too is a preposition. Now, in that case, because we have to, we can also use the infinitives. That probably wasn't the best example, because I can say, I agreed to go to the cinema. I can say both, that's true. Another example, I am Another word we can use instead of fond of is keen on doing something. I am keen on swimming. Again, it means I like swimming. So when I have a preposition, I follow it by the gerund. Okay? Now, the second rule for gerunds, I'm aware that I'm talking a lot. The second rule for gerunds is when it is the subject of a sentence. Okay? When we are talking about something as a noun, and it is the subject of a sentence. For example, it's a bit of a wonky line. For example, running. This is the subject of my sentence. I am talking about running. Running is good for you. Okay. Running is my subject. It's the subject of my sentence, so it's in the gerund. I like watching TV. You like doing something, a hobby. Okay. That's also because you have the verb like. The verb like can be followed by the infinitive or by the gerund. Okay. But that is still an example of when we use the gerund. So in this case, this is the subject of my sentence. Running is good for you. For example, swimming comes from the verb to swim, but in this case, we're using it as a noun. Swimming is a popular sport. Singing is my favorite thing to do. Very good. Swimming is very good. Jogging is forbidden now. Exactly. Like lots of things. Yeah, going to bars is forbidden. Going to something, because it's the subject of my sentence. Okay? Does that make sense? Now, very quickly, I've been speaking a lot. The only other rule for gerunds and infinitives is the more complicated, let's say, the more complicated to learn, because there are certain verbs that are followed by a gerund and certain verbs that are followed by an infinitive. Now, I explained at the start of the video, with this video, there are worksheets, okay? On the second page of the worksheet, the infinitive and gerund worksheet that you find on the online classroom, there is two little boxes to help you, verbs that are followed by a gerund and verbs that are followed by an infinitive. Okay, and the rule is very simple. For example, the verb appear is always followed by an infinitive, never a gerund. So I can say, she appeared to be angry. Appear is always followed by an infinitive. Okay, now, like I say, on that worksheet, you can find a nice list. I'm not going to list them all, because that will take me until about 12 o'clock. But you will find a nice list on that worksheet of verbs we use with an infinitive and verbs we always use with a gerund. Okay, the best way for you to learn them is by practicing using them in sentences, whether it be writing, the exercises, or speaking. Okay, but that is everything for today. I hope you learned a lot about gerunds and infinitives. Remember to go and do the practice. And yeah, if you have any other questions, we're going to save the video. You can watch the video again if you would like. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.